Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Here Be Dragons. I am your host, Stephen Stark, and joining me as always are my co-hosts, Nessie and John, but you know them. But today, we're very fortunate to welcome Cecilia from, I'm going to try to say it right the first time, Geeks, Geeksterilia.
Yeah,
Something,
it's
something
a
close
complex
to
name.
that,
Yeah, I know.
to help us talk about a film which I deeply loved. Well, first time I watched it, and also today again when I watched it again, we're going to be talking about Coco. So, hola Cecilia, y bienvenidos. Tell everybody who you are and what you do out there in the fan community.
Well, many thanks for inviting me. And well, I have a YouTube channel. I used to do some Game of Thrones reviews and that kind of stuff, but then Game of Thrones ended, and I modified my content a little bit just to talk about a lot of uh, many sci-fi and fantasy shows. But actually, I talk a lot of about a lot of other content, um, pop culture mainly, and it's now a podcast, and it's on YouTube, but it's also on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and
All and links to YouTube channel and Spotify and Instagram, Twitter, all that's down in the description for you.
thank you.
Of course. So yeah, Coco, what a movie!
Yeah.
I did not see it in the theater, but I did at one point try to catch up on the Pixar films that I had missed over the years.
Mhm.
And when I got to Coco, I was like, I don't really know much about Dia de los Muertos. I'm aware of it. I'm a Texan. There is a large Mexican community here in Dallas, but you see it from. I have an outsider's perspective of it, and this movie really made me feel like I could see inside of it and understand it in a way that I never did before,
Mhm.
and I really appreciated that. So I really kind of loved it overall. Cecilia, I want to kind of save your take for last. John, I'm going to go to you because you saw it for the first time today. What did you think?
I loved it. You've already warned me not to try and fake you guys out, so so I'm just going all in with my honest opinion first. I loved it. It's honestly grabbed me from the beginning, and I kind of we'll get into story details as we go along. And I did kind of catch on to the twist, so to speak, but I don't know that you're not supposed to, because I found the experience kind of heartwarming as you're waiting for these characters to discover what I had already kind of figured out, and it's tender that way of seeing these people find each other and realize their connection to one another. And by the end, I'll agree, I was in tears. It was a really good experience.
Mhm.
Awesome. I'm glad you liked it. I will say, hola, Mai. Gracias.
Hola.
But yes, we will be doing this in English language, unfortunately, for anybody who does not speak English. I know, Cecilia, your content is in Spanish. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Mhm.
Awesome. So, yeah, Anna. So, I will say this Anna here is the one that requested that we do this film specifically. So, Anna, we love you. This one's for you. And yeah. So, Nessie, tell me about your experience with the film.
Well, it really got me all in my feels today. Just little sidebar. Today would have been my brother's 48th birthday, my little brother. And I call Stephen and John my brothers, because they're the family I chose, but my actual sibling had passed away. So I'm really all into thinking about him today every year. So this really, really got home to me. I thought about him a lot today. Um, so yeah, it's really cool the way that the Day of the Dead is celebrated, and it's not where supposedly a sad time. It's a happy time. It's remembering them, remembering all their stories.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that it really hit home with me. I love the movie. This was probably the second or third time that I've seen it. And of course, I watched it like immediately. It was one of the first things that I watched when they launched Disney Plus. So me and my husband LD watched it. He's a big fan. So yeah, and Halloween, the whole Halloween season, Halloween, All Saints, Day of the Dead, All Souls Day. That's like the whole Halloween season to me. So that's like my favorite holiday of the year.
Oh, it is mine too. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that will bring us to Cecilia. So did you see this in the theater? Have you shown your kids this?
I did. In fact, it was the first movie that my oldest son, watched in the theaters. So it's pretty special to me, that movie, for that reason and for many other reasons, mainly because of my culture. To be honest, when I knew that Pixar was going to release a movie with Dia de los Muertos theme, I was a little bit nervous. I was a little bit worried that it was not going to be a respectful representation of what my culture was, what in my culture Dia de los Muertos means. And when I went there and I saw what they did, I was very impressed. I was very moved, and I felt very. It made me feel proud of my culture, the way that the way that we respect and honor our beloved ones who got ahead in the way. And well, I was in tears at the end of the movie, like very much everyone else and everyone that has experienced the loss of a beloved person. And well, I was pleasantly surprised and thankful also, because they did a great job.
Yeah, I can imagine. We're three Americans, and a lot of what we consume is American-made content. Not everything. Some of the stuff I like comes from Canada, but but to have a major studio make a movie that is so immersed in a culture outside of American culture is not a typical thing.
Right.
And again, I have never. There's a large Mexican American community near where I live. I've asked many people; they all love the movie the same way.
Yeah.
Though, like you said, like they kind of get it right, I guess, and probably means more to people specifically who are Mexican, because that's the origin of the holiday, if I understand correctly.
Yes, it is. Well, the origins of this holiday, well, they took place in the indigenous communities, pre-Hispanic. Uh, most of these cultures celebrated in their own way, but there were like some like common characteristics. For example, the flowers, the cempasúchil.
Is it the chrysanthemum flowers?
Exactly, that's the orange. These beautiful orange flowers, and of course the Choloscuintles, the dog, this dog breed, a special dog breed. They were like the guardians of the dead. They were supposed to guide them into their heaven, or their, I don't know, their paradise. And then of course the Spanish came. The Spanish people came, and they when Catholicism was imposed to these communities, well, they adopted this holiday. That it was not one day holiday. Some cultures celebrated it in four times a year, around 4 times a year. But then they consolidated those holidays into one day. That well, the next day of the day of El Día de los All Saints Day. But I'm sorry, and to give it, and they try to give it like a Catholic meaning, Catholic sense.
Yeah.
Well, this is something that the Catholic Church did a lot of times in many other cultures when they arrived into a country, and they try to com- convert everyone. And so the Day of the Dead, as we know it, is born of these two, of the fusion of these two countries, of these two cultures.
Okay.
Mhm.
You're speaking my language, Cecilia. I've got
Yeah. Like that was something I noticed sort of after the fact this time with so we each kind of have our own things that we love in storytelling. Like I want the hero's journey. I want that epic adventure. I love that. I eat that up. Okay, I'm basic that way, whatever. And give it to me in a complicated form, sure. But I do love a hero's story. Nessie, it loves the mythology, the way people view the unknowns of their world. You know, your whole channel, Nessie, is built on that idea of like monsters and mythology.
Mhm.
Like,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
I picked up a lot of those themes in this time around. I was like, oh my gosh, just to, like open my eyes up and really to look at it and to know what the underlying history behind the holiday is. And it is the fusion of two cultures or two religious ideas. I picked up some hints of like it does relate to the hero's journey. The from what I remember from one of the creation myths of
look,
Central American creation myths is a journey to the
he
land of the dead.
literally travels to the well, okay. Miguel literally goes to the afterlife. That's the journey through the underworld. But even in the underworld, he finds himself under the underworld in this
In
watery.
the cenote, in the
Yeah,
cenote, yeah,
and
which is like another gateway to the underworld, right?
right. Uh-oh. Somebody evil behind you. Hello. Oh.
That's not unnerving at all.
No, not even a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, I picked up on a lot of those themes, and the bridge that they have, that's the covered bridge with the chrysanthemums and whatever. I thought that was so beautiful. And I
Amy's right there with you.
yeah, the flower petal bridge was so beautiful and so symbolic of death and rebirth, because you know flowers, the chrysanthemum especially has been associated with death
Mhm.
for as long as for a long
Oh,
time.
the flower petals. I'm just thinking about the ending now, and I'm tearing up.
Yeah, well, there was a larger point I was trying to make is that it has the hero story that I love. It has the mythology that you love, Nessie. And
Mhm.
John, there are some editing and filmmaking techniques and they're pretty crafty. Like it's a well-constructed film.
It is, but and like I know it's inevitable for you to point to that with me, but I do want to stress, like every time I first watch a film, as much as I am an editing geek and a musical score geek and all that stuff, really first viewings are always to me about the emotional story and how the characters relate to one another. And I just loved seeing this story of family and specifically this
That's for you.
It's not quite a father-son relationship. It's what great grandfather and great grandson, but that kind of dynamic of discovering someone that you have a connection to, and I love when they discover one another in that one moment in the film, and it's just this great emotional moment when you discover this piece of family, and that's what really struck a chord with me.
Right.
Mostly because not to say, I mean, I certainly have my family, my mother and father, but I'm someone who's always been in sort of constant search of those connections, and when you find those, it means a lot, and and to me as an audience member, it's really, really easy to tear up at stuff like that.
Well,
It was so great that that one missing piece of the family, of the whole family, was symbolized by that one missing piece of the photograph.
Yeah.
And that's the search for that missing part that, you know, we know should be there, but is, you know, is lost to us. And just when you find that piece, you just have completion.
Well, it's kind of it's a universal feeling. This love for your past, your ancestors, your beloved ones. So it's easy for a film like this to connect with all kinds of people.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was really interesting that, you know, the title of the movie wasn't anything to do with like Miguel or, you know, the journey. It was the grandmother's name, the great grandmother's name.
I love that.
Yeah. I thought that was really, really neat.
Because this is a good chance for, if Amy's watching, for, you know, patriarchy. I'm certain I assumed that Coco was the name of the lead male character.
I know. I did going in the first time. I just assumed, wait a second, what is his name?
And of course it's not. And I love that. I love that it's the again, I can't remember. It's great grandmother or great grandmother, but that it's her name, and that's the heart of the story. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Her story was the heart of the story.
Yeah.
Yep, her story, as LD was just saying, her story is the heart of the story, because she was
Yes, it is.
the last living member who actually remembered their ancestor.
Well, like,
Mostly
the protagonist is Miguel, but the heart of the movie actually lies in the relationship between Coco and Hector.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This movie just hit so many buttons right for me in so many ways. Like, there's 4 of us sitting here talking right now. If you asked us, so what happens after you die? You're probably going to get 4 different answers.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie kind of says this is our version of what happens. But like the message that it conveys is so universal that you don't have to believe in the same afterlife to believe in the same values that this movie puts forward.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And well, I need to talk about the music.
Yeah, okay, please do.
Okay,
I
John.
really need to talk about the music because specifically what you're saying, the song "Remember Me," Recuérdame, I think it captures this emotion very well and very deeply. And it also captures the essence of the celebration of Dia de los Muertos. It's remembering the people that for which you are who you are. And well, of course, it obviously relates with the purpose of the journey of Miguel. And I think it's very beautiful. I think they did an excellent, a superb job with this. Because, well, the first time you hear this song in the movie, it's like a very happy song, cheerful.
It's a song about I'm famous, remember me.
Right. And then at the end of the movie, when everybody cries, you understand the true meaning of this song, and well, what it means to the characters and what it means to you as a viewer as well.
I'm sorry, Santivia has this struck me as really funny. Was it just me, or did De La Cruz give off creepy Ricky Ricardo vibes? Well, Ricky Ricardo was Caribbean, not Mexican, but like the hair was similar. And
actually, let me tell you something about him.
Sure.
Ernesto de la Cruz is based on a Mexican star
Mhm.
from the 40s, 30s, and 40s movies. His name was Pedro Infante, and also it's loosely based as well as in Jorge Negrete. These were Mexican singers,
Mhm.
and they were actors, and they were very famous. They were the stars of every single movie back then, and they are just really Mexican icons. And when I saw Ernesto de la Cruz, I inevitably thought about them. But then I saw them in the actual movie. They
Yeah, I
were
was
there.
gonna. You said Infante, and I'm like, he definitely. There's a scene where there's two men beside him, and one of them he calls them Infante,
Yeah,
and I was just. I guess that's a real famous
yes,
deceased Mexican actor. I
That is
love that.
really cool.
yeah,
I
I
love the research. I love the research that Pixar went into doing
yes.
this.
I
because
love it.
I did know about is his name El Santo?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's like a wrestler, but he was a movie star, but he always wore the silver mask, and he was
Mhm.
at the party too. It was
Yeah.
You can see in that party you can see a lot of a lot of famous Mexican people there
Yeah.
hanging around in the background, and it was pretty cool. It was a very beautiful Easter egg for me, and
Yeah.
for every Mexican that you ask,
Yeah.
they
Frida
can
Kahlo
say
played a
the same
very.
thing for you. And then
Go ahead. Sorry.
and the fact that, for example, Frida Kahlo, so a character like Frida Kahlo, a real life character, was actually a part, not just in the background. I mean, a part of the movie, a character, an actual character. It was great. It was great to see, and I don't know, man.
yeah, they did their homework. I think that's
Yeah.
become very clear to all of us. But
It shows, yes.
yeah,
I think what's so great is that even for those of us in the audience who we don't catch those references, we don't know, but it's an opportunity for us to be educated about that by bringing us into this very universal story. Because I don't think it really matters what your perspective is. This story is so good. It's so emotional, and it makes you feel, and that is truly transcendent, regardless of what culture you may hail from. And I just, it was great.
I loved all the portrayals that they did. Her expressing her, we're talking about Frida, expressing her artistic perspective all through the movie. Like her art was so iconic of from what I've learned of the mestiza. Did I say that correctly? Culture. And she was like the representative that brought it and crossed over, and so she's even well known in the United States. So this is just this iconic crossover, one of the first crossover artists to make their name on both sides of the border. So yeah, she's very important, and that they included her in this movie, I was really excited to see. I love her art. And is it just me, or did anybody else see something in that? Was it a guava fruit that she was using? Papaya. Did anybody see anything special in that papaya when it was on stage, or was it just me?
I mean, it was weird. It was creepy and weird, is what it was to me.
I mean, it was a vagina. I'm just gonna say. It was Amy, back me up.
It has to do a lot with her art. I mean,
Yeah.
she well, as you know, she only portrays herself in her art, and mainly, the reason of her art was to portray her pain,
She suffered.
her physical, both physical and mental suffering through her art. So that's the main reason why she portrays herself. And
a lot of childbirth imagery in her artwork.
Yeah, and so it's very rough many times. Sometimes what you see, So she uses a lot of imagery that has kind of like a sexual connotation.
Yeah, but it always like brings, she's talking about her like you said, her physical pain, her her mental struggles that she had.
Mhm.
So, and her iconic eyebrow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Even
which is illegal to make a fake one. What is it? Fabricating a monobrow?
unibrow.
Unibrow, yeah. That's illegal? Very
Yeah,
illegal.
the fact that he tried to sneak, and the whole thing about the border that just kind of screamed at me as well. Not how.
So a moment ago, Anna actually said that if there was one thing she would change about the movie, it would be the customs, like the customs agent at the border. And
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like I thought it was a great opportunity for some funny jokes. But
Yeah.
but
But it's kind of in your face.
Well, let me tell you something about that. Well, Mexican humor is rough, and we usually tend to laugh at things that are not proper to laugh. I mean, the whole day of the dead, it's filled with humor. Even though we're talking about a very tragical thing, something that is painful for people. I mean, the memory of your lost ones, but there's also, like you said, Stephen, a great opportunity for humor. The opportunity to remember those people through humor, through the good things that we live with them. But also, well, this is a reflection of the kind of humor that we use. I mean, we laugh at things, like I said, that sometimes are not proper. And that situation in particular is something that is laughable for us. I mean, it's a tough situation. It's hard for us.
Yeah, Hector not being able
To
not
know
able to cross the border because he didn't have proper photo ID.
Uh-huh.
It's just, like.
Yeah, and I think that's an opportunity for the audience watching this to also look at that and say, if you don't like the fact that Hector wasn't able to get across the border and to see his family, then maybe you should look to the real world and think about that. And so yeah, I mean, I think it kind of serves a value to put that reflection back up on the audience.
Yeah, and in the shape of humor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point to make, because we're going to continue the conversation with Anna a little bit. I actually completely understand your point, Anna, but again, I think John just answered for me. Like, if you, it's not so subtle way of saying, if you can feel for this animated Mexican that way, how come you can't feel for an actual real human Mexican that way?
Yeah, well, I live in the border.
Sure.
I live in the border in Juarez, which is right next to El Paso, Texas. I see these kind of things every day. I see people getting kicked out of America. I've seen the separation of families that right now is a huge thing. It's a horrible situation in any shape or form that you see and you look at it. But then again, if you are not able to learn or think about it in the way that you want to, even if it's humor, then, I mean, it's a great, like you said, it's a great opportunity for reflection. And that's one of the things that comedy gives us. And it may not feel appropriate, but then again, it's also Mexican culture.
Right. I mean, we're not going to try to get too heavy into the political talk here. But yes, we. I don't think any of us are really happy about the situation at the U.S.-Mexico border right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, I'm going to use humor to. If people don't laugh at my funeral, I'm going to be disappointed in my afterlife.
Nice
Well,
background.
Nessie, you just made it to heaven.
Yeah, I thought maybe the wall was the wrong background to have at this point.
Yeah.
Let's get
Accurate.
rid of that wall and let's have this.
I see what you did there.
Yes, right. It
Yeah.
brings into the afterlife.
I see what you did there. Yeah. Good move. But yeah, well, the movie is filled with these things. I mean,
Well, and as you say, maybe like, okay, as an American, again, viewing Dia de los Muertos from the outside, it has a slightly morbid feel to it.
it is. Yeah, it
You
does.
know, like you're gonna paint the kids' faces like you're gonna eat candy skulls and paint the kids' faces like skulls, and I'm like, I mean, but Halloween's the same thing. But yeah, Halloween's American, but then it's like, check your privilege, white man, and so there's this whole kind of journey I've been on with this, and I think this movie was actually really instrumental in helping me understand it in a way. And as you say, the sort of humor in the face of tragedy, which is culturally, I guess it's, I don't know how I'm exactly trying to say it.
Well, I think I know what you mean, but I think it has to do with the fact that our culture, the whole thing. I mean, Dia de los Muertos is also a reflection of what we are, and you mentioned the mestizo culture, which is a mixture of the indigenous and the Spanish culture. The whole thing with Mexico is that the mixture of these two cultures, how they came together in a very violent way, and how they fused, and how that is still a scar that itches. And well, we kind of need this humor to cope with this reality.
Yeah. I think that's actually a very human thing. It's any good comedian will tell you their comedy is born from pain,
Exactly.
And so I think that's kind of universal. I did want to shout out JP is in the house. Hola, mi amigo. He is a Mexican American, and he is the best guitar player I've ever personally known. Go listen to his stuff and do the thing. Anyway, love you, brother. Good to see you. He can play better than Ernesto de la Cruz. I promise you.
Wow.
So okay, speaking of the music, there is so much to love beyond just the "Remember Me" song. And as someone who's not as familiar with the music, I listened to some stuff. I listened to some things about the film. Kind of, I was doing my my research, my homework, and I know that Michael Giacchino did a lot of. I mean, he did the score, but like there is so much history of Mexican music in there as well. How much of that music is, say, real music, or is all of it created just for the film?
I think all of it is created for the film, except for La Llorona.
Okay.
Which is the song that Ernesto de la Cruz and Miguel's great grandmother sing.
Mama Imelda.
Imelda. They sing this song. This song is a traditional song from Oaxaca, and but most of the music was created for the movie. And I do think they did a great job. They were very accurate to pick the Lopez duo for this job, and I think they have Mexican roots, I'm not sure about that, but they do show an understanding of of Mexican music in this movie, because well, all the inflections, all the feeling, all the phrases of the songs, all the, I don't know, everything was there. Everything was there. It felt authentic, and I
I
liked it. I like that very much.
I liked it the contest when they were having the talent contest and the amphitheater. How
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was semi they had your traditional what you Mexican, but it
Banda.
showed people, yeah, it showed people from all different genres were being represented.
Mhm.
So Sid from Toy Story is the EDM DJ. Change my mind.
Dan from Toy Story, I'll go with it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
The evil toy mutilating kid, Sid. He wears a black T-shirt with a skull on it, and then you've got that guy who's got the hair that's and he's got the turntables and everything, and he's wearing the exact same T-shirt. The toys rose up and killed Sid eventually. Changed my mind.
you're talking about the contestant or the
Yeah.
DJ. Yeah, they just took the one little key. Yeah, the goth kid is what I
Yeah.
call.
He looks kind of like Skrillex, I guess.
But I just thought it was really cool that it wasn't just limiting. Say this is Mexican music. No, Mexican music is all music. It covers all genres. So I thought that was a really good point to take.
Yeah.
Honoring the traditions and history, but saying it's not just this.
Yeah. That was actually hilarious for me, because well, most of the youngsters that renegade from Mexican people, rancheras and banda and that kind of stuff, they usually go to metal music, and it's kind of a very Mexican thing to happen. Yes. Yeah. So when I saw that, I just lost it.
Well, as a resident metalhead, I approve.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was pretty funny, and well, they did like I said, they did a great job in every single thing. Every single detail was there. One of the things that I loved moving from music is the portrayal of his grandma, of Miguel's grandma. Mexico,
the matriarch.
the matriarch. Yes, matriarchy is a big thing in Mexico.
Abuela.
Yes.
Abuela.
Yeah.
All our families, all our system involves around our grandmothers.
Matriarchy. Drink.
Matriarchy. It's a matriarchy. And it's actually something very curious, because, well, as you know, Mexican culture is very filled with machismo. And so it's weird that we, as a very matriarchal culture, society, the machismo is still very, very, very much a thing there that we are fighting for, that we're fighting against. We're still fighting against that, but it's still there in some ways. And one of the representations that was very accurate, until we of course knew the real reason why Hector disappeared, is the fact that Mexican dads are this kind of distant figure, and everything is around our mothers. Mothers are the ones that are there. Dads are there, but they are not really there. Of course, you will always find good dads in every culture, but that's one of the things that is very general, sort of speak.
Right.
And the whole family dynamic that from Miguel's family was around this absence. The fact that they hated music was because of this absence.
He was gone. Yeah.
Because he was gone, and they all thought that he just ran away. But then of course, we all knew the truth, and by the end of the movie. But yeah, it's something that made me laugh and reflect a lot. And of course, I love the chancla. The grandma and her shoe.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh my
Weapon
God.
of destruction.
Weapon of
Yes.
mass destruction.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
Grandmas are like that. They are tough. Mexican grandmas are tough, but they're very loving as well. And you can also see that when she tries to stuff Miguel with food.
yeah, she might be even more dangerous with that chancleta though, because they make shoes. They're a shoemaking family. She is probably the deadliest abuela with a shoe on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her shoe was a registered weapon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Concealed carry.
You might need permission to carry a chancla.
shoe.
But yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, it's a thing around here too. Don't cross with your grandma.
Mhm.
It's a very much a Southern thing too. You know, you build the entire family dynamics is, built around grandma.
Yeah, and the fact that the extended family was around there is also so accurate there as well.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom's got a great joke here. Once told a taxi driver with my limited Spanish that I had tres hombres, and he was very impressed.
Ooh, Miss
Yeah.
Betsy.
What she meant was probably tres hijos or tres hijos. Yeah, tres hijos. That's right, 3 sons. My Spanish is not great. I try very hard, but I don't. But a couple years in high school, that's all I got.
I took Spanish for 2 years and learned some stuff in my first year, and then the second year they replaced our teacher with a teacher who did not speak Spanish. So that pretty much extinguished all the progress I had made.
Well, there is always Duolingo and Mexican telenovelas. I kind of missed that in Coco. I mean, Mexican telenovelas are a huge thing. I mean, I don't watch them, I don't like them, but they are indeed a huge thing, and we didn't see them there. So we did see the soccer. We did see soccer there. I mean, one of the cousins of Miguel had the Mexican team jersey, which is also a huge thing here in Mexico, soccer.
There's just so many Easter eggs all throughout this movie. Just little nuggets everywhere you look. If you looked, you could find something in almost every scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool. They named the dog Dante.
Oh my God. Amy, do you speak Chinese?
Oh man, that's mean. Oh wow! Apparently, Anna also used to speak a language I've never even heard of.
Guarani. Oh, interesting. This is an indigenous language from the Amazonas, from an Amazonas tribe that is between Argentina and Brazil. Mm-hmm.
I think Anna's from Argentina.
Oh,
I think.
makes sense.
Now we know what country you're in. Okay, so I'm going to try to steer the ship back toward Coco.
Were we talking about that?
We were, but so there's this idea that it's a matriarchy, but obviously Mama Coco is beyond is too old to be matriarchal anymore.
So the matriarch is her daughter.
Right. So
Pass
like,
it on. Yeah.
and I gotta say, you love to see it. Like, I mean, you don't love to see Mama Coco in that condition, but like, there's this idea that, okay, I don't want to speak for a culture outside of my own. So all I can do is I can speak from my own observations from the outside. And then
Right.
I'm not trying to, but I have noticed that there does appear to be an element of toxic masculinity, as
Ooh,
like you were
yeah.
talking about before, Not
Yes.
necessarily in this film. I mean, Ernesto de la Cruz to a certain extent.
There's a hint there.
Yeah.
There is indeed a hint because well, otherwise they wouldn't hate that music that much because music was like the equivalent of a woman who stole away their
Right.
men from the family.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It
So
was
they
more-
hated music the way some any family would hate the woman that
Destroyed
stole
his
the husband from the family. Right now, instead of punishing the guy, they punish the woman.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yes, there is indeed a lot of toxic masculinity in our culture. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many feminicides. I don't really want to go there.
Okay.
It's a very dense topic.
Sure.
But yeah, there is, and
But then to have that reflected
mhm,
with but that's more like the broader culture, but then the family culture is matriarchal. It almost seems it seems counterintuitive to me.
it does, but it does make sense.
I mean, I'm
It
sure
does
does.
when you talk about
It
the
makes
theme
sense,
of the
and I'm
absence
gonna-
of the father. The
Uh-huh.
father, the man, the eldest, he is not there. So
Yes.
the mother is stepping into that role that would have been filled by a more patriarchal society, by the eldest
Yes.
male or his son once he is become old and infirm.
Uh-huh.
The eldest and oldest, yeah.
The thing is
But by
this.
them being gone, that there's a void and
Uh-huh.
a vacuum and a place for the abuelas to have, to be the center of the family. And
Yes.
it's not even though abuela's husband he died, and that left a void for her, so that she was therefore the matriarch, because the man is gone. He either is left or he's died.
Yeah.
And it's very true that a lot, men die a lot.
Yeah, well,
sooner.
Betsy says here that the U.S. has plenty of toxic masculinity, and yes, indeed. But in Mexican culture, the way that is reflected in Mexican culture, and why it makes sense for us to be a matriarchal society, and at the same time a very machismo,
Machismo.
machismo is it makes total sense because, well, in Mexican culture and in many cultures, but we're specifically talking about Mexican culture, men will be men, quote unquote. Men will be men, quote unquote. And we have to let men be who they are and go wherever they want to and things like that. So it is justifiable, quote unquote, for them to be absent from family. And so women, it's women's role to be there for the family, to be the ones who sacrifice for the family.
Family together.
Uh-huh. So that creates an attachment to your mothers that you don't have with your dads.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why we are a matriarchal society.
But then the aspiration is to become that one that leaves.
Yes.
That's so backward thinking to me. I'm sorry, but hey, like my own culture doesn't make a lot of sense to me sometimes.
No, I know. But we are fighting against that right now.
And he said when he was talking to his great grandfather, that there was always that one little part of him that didn't fit into the rest of the family.
Mm-hmm.
That one little thing that made him different. And now he said, "Oh, it was you, because you went and followed your dreams and you left the family." So yeah, you went and followed and became a musician, and that little spark of, oh, I have to leave the family too because
Like,
Yes.
I think that's an important thing in this film is that, eventually we do find Hector to be kind of almost a protagonist, a second protagonist of the film. But I think most of us would agree he kind of made a mistake when he left his family behind.
yeah, and he regretted it.
And
He
he did.
realized
Like,
his mistake, but it
And
was
but I think what's great about this is because often I think we do, especially if we're those of us who kind of are artistically minded as the young protagonist of this film is, we do often feel like it's sort of the dream to go off and pursue,
right.
these great dreams that we have and to excel at what we think we're good at. And not to say that we shouldn't do that, but there's also this feeling that you don't want to leave your family behind. There's a middle ground, and
maybe don't do it when your daughter's 3 years old.
yeah. But
you
what
want
I,
your
what I
family-
like is what this film ends up landing on is is that, I'm sorry, what's the young kid's name? Because
Yeah.
Miguel.
he's Miguel, and okay, Hector is the
Hector is the ancestor.
okay, I was getting them switched around. But what happens with Miguel is he does get to pursue his love of music, but he incorporates it in his love of family by the end. And I think that's a really important message. And it's like you can immerse yourself in the thing you love, but don't run away from your family. Don't
No.
break yourself away from that.
And
What
Miguel
Hector didn't
really
really
wants his family's love and support and approval. He really wants that.
Yeah.
And he's even but he on his journey he finds that how important just family is. He's always had this attachment to Coco.
Yeah.
Just because he could talk to her. And he could like spill his heart out to her, and she never said anything, but she was just there to listen to him, and just to, because he felt that nobody else in the family understood him.
I think the thing is that Hector didn't really meant to leave his family to follow his dream. He was forced to, and I think that's the thing that makes Miguel change his mind.
Yeah, I think Hector, he sounded like they were popular in that town, and it wasn't until De La Cruz wanted to go and become, take the tour on the road, go away, go record, get famous, that they had their falling out because he wanted to go back home. It was like the small stage was fine for Hector, so long as he could come home at night or, but the whole thing was he had to make the choice between his wife and family and this musical career. He, kind of made the right choice.
Yeah. I mean, well, sometimes once you get a taste of that thing that you're pursuing and you think you want, you realize then what's actually most important to you. And that's what he realizes. And unfortunately his partner does not
partners
care so much.
Yeah, but I think it was pretty cool that too, the whole time that he was on the road and away from his family, we find out that he's been writing letters home to his daughter, and he's been writing these poems home to her. And, she was too young to read them, but, Imelda, obviously they were going to Imelda as well. So, he was trying to stay in contact with his family for, as long as he was out. It's just that unknowing, not knowing, who knows what the last letter said, like, hey, we've got this gig in, Mexico City or something. See you next week. And you never hear from him again. So.
Yeah. So it was easy for them to assume that he just abandoned the family.
Right.
Because culturally, that's what happens. I mean, it's not
By
good.
that time,
Yeah, it's not something good. No one says that, but yes, it's something that happens. And luckily, things are changing. And but it's good to see, and it was refreshing to see that Hector didn't really meant to leave his family.
Right.
Yeah, it was good, and like I said before, that was what made made Miguel change his mind about leaving his family to pursue his music. But in the end, he made them change their mind about music too.
Yeah.
When they see him playing the guitar and singing "Remember Me," it made everyone cry
Mhm.
in the
Well, it
scene.
was like when Imelda kind of gave. She was the original matriarch of the family. Imelda, what Imelda said, that was it. The way the family is going to be, and that's how the family is going to be. You know, it wasn't until she changed, she started singing, and that moment in the film when she was singing and remembering how she used to sing with her husband and everything, it was like the turning point
Mhm.
for the whole family at that point. You know,
Yeah.
that getting her acceptance was the key to the whole thing, because she was the one who had been wronged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really kind of a beautiful idea. There's just, I mean, the more we sit here talking, the more I keep peeling back layers from this film in my mind. I'm like, man, they really just got it right, kind of almost top to bottom. And I like Pixar in general, but this one is just, I don't know. They just did. There's a magic in this one that there a lot of other Pixar is great. This is nearly perfect.
Really hit the mark on this one.
Yeah. So guys, we've been going for about an hour. I'm going to go ahead and do the mid-roll. Unless anybody's got a final thought they got to squeak in before that. Okay, no good. All right. So to everybody here live, thanks for joining us. I hope you're having a good time. I'm having a blast. Like it's always fun to escape on Sunday into the realm of nerdy stuff we love. And admittedly, this is a bit of a different conversation than we normally have, but we still are talking about hero's journey and mythology and filmmaking, and we're loving every minute of it, or at least I am. So if you are here and you are enjoying yourself, please consider hitting the like button. It makes a difference. Also, if you're not subscribed, I'd appreciate it if you did. We would all appreciate it if you did. We talk about nerdy stuff every week, every Sunday. Speaking of which, next Sunday we will be having another first-time guest, although she is somebody we three dragons have known for a while. Friend of the channel, Jolie, aka All Hail the Night's Queen, joining us to talk about her favorite movie that we got roped into talking about. It is called Attack the Block. I have never seen it. But I know it is an alien invasion movie, and John Boyega is in it. So hopefully it's good, and hopefully it's good. The week after that, I believe we're going to start dipping into Mandalorian. Is that right? Nessie, John, do you remember?
Nessie knows the schedule better than any
All
of
right,
us.
I'm pulling it up on my phone.
All right, Attack the Block. We've got some Expanse coverage coming
That's
up
what it
on
is.
November the 15th.
And then this is not okay. What's after that has not been announced publicly yet.
Sorry.
So yeah, next week Attack the Block. The week after that, we will be doing an Expanse character focus, either Kristen Avasarala or not Avasarala, Naomi Nagata or Kamina Drummer. One of those two. We're going to try to get both of those ladies in before season 5 starts in December. Mandalorian is coming up before the end of the month. We'll be talking about some Mandalorian though.
And I cannot wait for that.
Yeah. John, what do you got coming up on your channel?
I have a channel. Oh, that's right. Yes, I have a channel. Now, if you guys missed it last night, Amy and I did a great Halloween stream. We talked about the film The Others. And so go check that out. I think it was our most sort of stream of consciousness stream we've done on the channel. So it's a lot of fun. Go check it out. Next week, however, Saturday at 7 p.m., we're going to be talking about the films of Quentin Tarantino. We're going to be doing a wide range of conversations about all of his films, but we're probably mostly going to focus on Kill Bill and Glorious Bastards, Django Unchained, and The Hateful Eight, which are our personal favorites. So so go ahead and tune in for that. And I have to mention this all the time because I still can't believe it. Later this month, probably on the 21st, I'm doing an interview with a fellow by the name of Doug Adams, who wrote the book, The Music of the Lord of the Rings films. So please stop by for that, because that's going to be a lot of fun. Okay.
Wow.
I'm done.
Okay, that's about. Is that it? Oh, and also you recently added your own co-host to your channel, Amy Blackfire, who is in the chat right now, and has you two have been. I know it's only 2 weeks in that you guys have been working together, but your chemistry is great. The way you bounce off of each other is really good. So go check out John Webster Film. Link in the description. Nessie, what's coming up for you?
Okay, on November the 18th, I've got a stream scheduled with good friend of the channel, Erin M, and she's going to come on, and we're going to talk about a new subject, beginning women in Arthurian tales, and we're going to start with the Lady of the Lake.
Nice. All right. And that's the only thing on the schedule for you right now? I know you're busy with, saving people's lives and stuff.
Well, as soon as John and I can work out and agree upon a date, because, John's not busy. He's not busy, but
I don't have anything going on.
We're going to talk about our favorite magician. Our second favorite magician behind Matt is Merlin, and the archetype of the magician. With
Right
it's gonna be really good.
I look forward to that. I'm going to be there in the chat if I'm still awake. You know me, I go to bed early. All right, Cecilia, what have you got coming up over there on Geeksterilia?
Well, I mean to talk about Mandalorian as well. And my podcast is every Thursday, but lately I've been spacing it out a little bit because I recently got a new job and it's pretty demanding. So I haven't had the time to do a proper weekly episode. But yeah, I mean to talk about Mandalorian. And my past episode was about Contact, the movie from 1997 with Jodie Foster. It is one of my favorites. So, but I've talked about Lord of the Rings as well. I've talked about many geeky stuff. So if you speak Spanish, you are welcome to, or are just curious, you are welcome to listen to my podcast. You can find it, like I said, in any streaming service like Spotify or anything like that, or in YouTube, in my YouTube channel. And I just want to stop a little bit by and say hi to one of my followers that is around here. I saw him in the comments, Eduardo Vasquez. Hola. And
Hola, bienvenidos, Eduardo.
And you're welcome to listen to my podcast if you are curious or speak Spanish.
The links are down in the description. And if you have a channel that, I don't know, likes to talk about geeky stuff or movie stuff, I bet Cecilia would be a great guest, we've only been at this for an hour, and I'm like, yeah. I see why you have your own channel where you do this thing. You know what you're doing.
Thank you. And I would love to have you as my guests. I mean, I can do special episodes in English. I've been wanting to, but I've never really thought about it formally. But I would love to have you in my podcast. all three of you.
I will find a subject. I'm sure. I love this. This is I live for this. I'm. I mean, again, I'm a white guy in America, so like my voice is my voice, and I don't have to worry about that the way a lot of other people do. But that doesn't mean I still don't want to have my voice heard also. Although I'm perfectly willing to lift up other people's voices, but I still want to be heard too. But that being said, I would be delighted to come on and speak in English about whatever topic you prefer.
Don't worry. I'm not gonna force you to speak Spanish. I do like Pan's Labyrinth. It's actually one of my favorite movies. I would love to talk about it.
Really?
Yeah, I would love to talk about it.
If only there was a channel where people talked about movies.
And I'm going to agree with Mom. Like, I would have you on to talk about Die Hard if you liked Die Hard.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so real talk, before we get back to, oh, you know what? I better do my Patreon shout-outs, then I'll complete this idea. So we got a shout-out to our top-level patrons, the High Council, consisting of, hold on, let me pull up the list just so I make sure I get it all right. Lord John Bronsteen the Wise, a.k.a. Bronte. Love you, brother. Sir Maura Lee of Starfall. Fantastic lady. Sixto Sounds, a.k.a. JP the Axe Grinder, who is in the chat earlier. He's the guy who I said is better than Ernesto at guitar, better than De La Cruz. But also got to shout out the lords and ladies of the realm, and that is Lady Leaf Underhill, good friend of the channel Leaf, and of course our alpha patron, ridiculous Ed Tollett. This guy right here, love you, brother. thanks for always having our back. And if you want to join our Patreon, there's a link in the description. You don't get nothing for it other than the satisfaction of helping us keep our equipment up to speed. But we thank you deeply for all of our patrons. Thank you very much. We love you. All right, so
Yeah, you're even friends.
Sounds like Cecilia would be like, so like we had been following each other on Twitter as mutuals for a while. I don't know exactly how long, but for some time. And Anna said, "Hey, will you do Coco?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. You know, why not?" And then I thought about it for after I said it, and I said, 3 white Americans talking about Coco. I mean, we can lavish our love and affection on the film, but we're not going to understand it the way someone who is from Mexico would, because it's just not part of our culture. Mm-hmm. So I got on Twitter and I said, "Hey, if there's somebody out there that can talk about this film with more authority than I have." And Cecilia, like within 3 minutes, was like, "I'll do it." And I said, "That's great. I don't even need to look any further." I looked at your channel on YouTube and I'm like, she's doing the same thing I'm doing, just in a different language.
Indeed.
So, like, perfect. But yeah, after this, I'm already at the point where I'm like, I would talk with you about Die Hard.
All right. Great.
If you love Die Hard.
I do, yeah. I mean, I love a lot of movies. I love a lot of series. Yeah.
Tony's the movies guy. I'm always about the nerdy stuff. So like,
yeah, it's like, why are you trying to take Die Hard away from me? That seems like it would be more fitting for my channel.
Oh my God, someone's jealous.
Yeah, but that schedule goes all the way out to what, July now?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think
if I let Amy go all out, we'd have a schedule until like 2025. So
yeah, I wasn't trying to take it from you. I was pitching you to invite me to talk about Die Hard.
Okay, yeah. That's what you were doing, Steve.
Yeah, that's totally what I was doing. Okay.
All right. Before we go, I want to say hi to Betsy.
That's my real life
mother. Your mom.
Yes, that is my actual mother.
Hi. She's our matriarch.
Hi, Betsy. She's your matriarch.
She never once in her life called me mijo, though.
You're missing a part of life. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
It's okay. She's got a lot of pet names for me. Mijo isn't one of them.
Yeah, I know.
So, okay, I guess we can jump. We can go back towards the actual movie we're here to talk about.
Okay.
Well, that was a really terrible transition. You know what? It's always easier after the mid-roll, though. I don't know why, but it's always easier after.
Yeah.
The chat starts to get crazier. Like they're talking about Die Hard now in the chat. I did that.
I wanted to ask Cecilia about some of the particularly, traditional things in the movie, and one of them is the alebrejes.
Oh, the
spirit
alebrijes. The alebrijes.
Yes.
Yeah, they're like these mystical beings from, I don't know.
Well, we see a few of them, but the main one, or the two main ones, are the dog and the giant cat. I mean, does the size of the spirit animal reflect like the personality of the person that they're attached to, or are they attached to specific people? How does that work?
Okay, well, to be very honest,
very interesting.
to be very honest, I don't really know much about that. That particular thing. I just know that they are like spiritual beings from the afterlife and in the shape of animals. But what I do know is about the Choloscuinte, which is the dog. It's Miguel's dog, and it was very special that they made him Choloscuintle, because of the context of the movie that, like I mentioned before, Choloscuintles were...
That's the hairless dogs, right?
Yes, and they were supposed to guide the spirit into the afterlife.
Right. There's like
Paradise.
some I think in the Aztec mythology, I think there's this dog-headed spirit guide that takes the people to the land of the dead.
It was actually in many cultures.
Yeah,
it's like present in many cultures. It is one of the constants that you can find in pre-Hispanic celebration of
I know that
of the dead. And
it's popular in a lot of other world mythologies that the dog is associated with leading as like a psychopomp. I think that's the word that takes the spirit to the underworld, because you have like Anubis, and then you see the carvings of dogs beside the tombs on I think it's in certain Greek cultures. Anyway, it seems like it's a whole world thing where the dog is a companion even unto death.
Sometimes they were even buried along with the owner.
Like to be a companion forever. Yeah. Dante.
So, I will say the fact that the best line in the whole movie, to me, or at least the funniest one, is about the dog, Dante, where he describes him as like, what is he, a hot dog that somebody dropped in a barbershop? I don't know why, but I had to pause the movie when he said that. It had been long enough that I forgot it. I don't know why that struck me as so funny, but it did. It really...
That's a heck of a description, but
they're not cute dogs.
They're not.
I can tell you.
Okay.
Well, they are cute in their own way, but honestly, I do prefer furry dogs.
Yeah.
My dogs have hair.
Mine too.
Oh, I just want to say hello, Mrs. Duncan Natal. It's been a little while. It's nice to see you again. So one of the things, I really kind of like the way they visualized the land of the dead as well. So like
So
every
cool.
Miguel is in the land of the living during the daytime. He steals the guitar basically as the sun is going down, and then the night is in the land of the dead. But it is still so vibrant and colorful and alive in a way that isn't really reflected in most other afterlife imagery.
And I do want to say this is a very nerdy comment, so I apologize in advance. But since I was watching on Disney Plus um, on my 4K set, I got to watch this with the full high dynamic range, and the colors were out of this world. I really noticed that watching this movie. So I completely agree, Stephen. All that stuff looked beautiful.
Yeah. So it's just colorful and vibrant and fantastical in its shape and design. It's like nothing traditional, but traditional at the same time. How they're just like stacked and stacked on to form these towers, and then the spirit animals are just kind of like flying in between these towers. It's
Well,
just
and everything is so brightly colored, like neon colored even, and
Yeah.
then set against this very dark backdrop of the night to really give you that contrast. And you really do see it in the is it Alabrijes? Alabrajes?
Alebrijes, yes.
Okay.
Uh,
They like just the way like even the eyes on Dante when he becomes so colorful. Each eye is a different color. His nose is bright green.
yeah,
Like
it's great.
and you know what? That is exactly how the celebration is. It really is. You see colors everywhere. The offerings and the altars and all that. All that you see color everywhere, which is may sound weird because we're talking about death, and usually we associate dead with dark colors. But we don't celebrate it like that. I mean, we don't see it like that. I mean, it's a change.
I love it.
Mhm.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah, me too. It's actually one of my favorite holidays, Mexican holidays, because of all of the things that I already talked about, and I mean, its meaning and that sort of stuff, but also the colors and the food.
Oh, the food, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the bread, el pan de muerto, the bread, it's delicious. And every time you see it on the stores, it's like, oh my God, it's already
It's in the store.
that time of the year. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool that the
Bread of the
spirits.
dead. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a bread. It's a bread like this size. It's round. It's puffy, and it has a cross that is supposed to. It's supposed to mean like the bones of the dead.
okay.
Put in
Yeah, bones are a big deal.
pointing to the 4 points of the north, the south, and
A compass. A compass. You say?
yes, a compass.
Yes, all the cardinal directions there, Stephen. It's
All the
very.
cardinal.
It's kind of my
Yes.
thing.
It's all symbolism. It's all
Yeah.
symbolism.
It's symbolism and it's delicious. Yes.
Yeah. I think
I highly recommend it. I highly recommend you to taste them. If you can get to a Walmart or something that has that is in a very Mexican populated neighborhood, you will find it. You will find it there.
I mean, I just need to drive down the street to the place that says Panaderia on the outside, and I'll be fine. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You'll find. Oh, I forgot that about Dallas. My sister lived there, and yeah.
Panaderia, taqueria, carniceria.
Yeah, carniceria, yes.
They got it all.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
And I thought it was pretty cool that the bones are like symbolic all throughout the movie, not just in the skulls, but all of the people are portrayed as skeletons. And then, like you were saying, the
baby faces.
Yeah, the calaveras. Calaveras. Is that what they're- The calaveras.
Calaveras.
Yes.
The skull.
And that is all deeply Aztec, if I remember, because that was very much part of that culture. And the creation story that I was talking about earlier, that referencing, that they had to, I think it was Quetzalcoatl went to the land of the dead and brought back bones.
Yes.
Brought back the bones to make human beings. So he brought the magic bones back, and man or people are created from these magic bones. So the bones are where the spirit of the dead reside. All right? Yeah. So the bones kind of remember.
Yeah. There was in very much every May Ibarra is telling us something very interesting. The alebrijes are made of copal wood and are inspired by nahuales. Nahuales are people. Well, they are supposed to be people who kind of like shapeshifters. Yeah, I think they change or they morph into animals or something like that. I don't know if I'm confusing the things, but yeah, I think that's what nahuales are. But yeah, what I forgot what I was going to tell you.
If it's important, I bet you'll remember.
Oh, sorry.
If it's very important, I bet you'll remember.
Oh yeah, I remember.
But so, like, I am going to, I'm going to poke and prod the chat just a little bit. There's a lot going on in this film. If there is a topic that we haven't necessarily touched on yet that you want to bring up, an Easter egg, a thought, an idea, a question, feel free to go ahead and throw that in the chat. I'm going to start to keep an eye on the chat to look for those types of things. But I just, so this film really, I guess one of the big wins for me is that it is very specifically about Mexican culture, but it is also such a universal story about feeling connected to your past, to your living relatives, and to the people that they were connected to who have passed on. And this idea that, if you look, I don't know, you wouldn't be here but for those people who have now passed on. And this idea of like, and the movie makes it very explicit, like everybody dies twice. This is something I've said before. Once when your heart stops beating, and the second time, the last time anybody ever speaks your name. That's kind of how I've always thought about it. But this film, I mean, it's slightly different. As long as somebody is alive who could remember you from life, like you don't die the second death, and that is.
And as long as that memory is then passed on,
and because it's this idea of like what we do in our life matters not only during our life, but down through the ages, because you shape your children, who shape their children, who shape their children. So your fingerprint is on the DNA of your family for the rest of eternity. And the reverse is true. Looking back, everything you are is a succession of all those people that came before. Their personalities helped influence the personalities of their children, which if you think your personality isn't influenced by your parents, you're a crazy person.
And I do want to say, though, on this topic that I was really bracing towards the end of the movie for a bit of a darker, more somber ending, where, because it showed that the photograph was lost in the water, and so I thought that was it, and I was prepared for this idea that the film was then going to bring forward, because earlier they did say nobody knows what happens after that second death. This idea that sorry, once again, Miguel is the young kid, correct?
Yes.
That he was going to have to sort of take it upon himself to remember his great grandfather and pass that on even after his great grandfather had died that second death. I forgot for a moment that this was a Pixar movie and they probably wouldn't do something like that.
No.
But I was kind of braced for that, and so but that would have been, but in a more adult movie that also would have been a sort of a message to the audience to still carry that memory forward. But I was so happy when that wasn't the case, and when there was still a photograph when he was able to remind Coco of him. So that was really when I teared up. I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I think we all sweat and cried in that scene.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
High stress.
So Amy's going to ask it outright. What is your favorite scene from the movie? Whoever's got an answer, go ahead.
Well, mine was the duet with Imelda singing La Llorona. That was to me, that just gave me chills. I love that scene with the dancing and the tango and the play back and forth between the two singers, and she's trying to get to Hector. Yeah, I just loved all that.
Nice.
Yeah, the dance scene was it.
Yeah, well, there were so many great scenes, but definitely the most emotional and the most profound is the one where Miguel gets to sing "Remember Me" to Coco, and she remembers, and we see like the flashback. And when we see the flashback when Coco was a child and her room, and when he said goodbye to her, that was very moving.
Mm-hmm.
It was very emotional. I mean, the whole movie is filled with this, but that particular scene, I mean, it's heart crushing, and that's why I love it so much. And of course, one of my other favorite scenes was the party at Ernesto's house, because I mean it was so colorful. It was filled with Easter eggs and Mexican references, and it was fabulous.
I could mention all the moments that were just mentioned, but I will say it's that moment with Hector and Miguel in the pit when they discover who they both are in relation to one another.
Yeah.
I mean, that just teared me up. I realized the other day that I really do love that sort of, again, they're not father-son, but it becomes that kind of a scene where it's that realization of a bond. I realized because yesterday when we were talking about Sean Connery, I kept thinking about how much I love Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade because of that bond between Indiana and his father. And I think I really respond to those kinds of relationships, and just seeing that realization between the both of them, it really made me tear up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you guys all took the good answers, so I'll just go. Everyone knows Juanita. I love that part. I don't know why. The silly song, her knuckles drag on the floor, and the joke, and I don't know. So good. But it's also like he sings it so melancholy, even though it's like a drinking song, that these toxic masculinity types are going to be out singing. Maybe I shouldn't be glorifying that. I love it anyway. I thought it was,
is that the scene where he's singing to the older one who dies? I love that moment because that was really when I realized it clicked in my head. I'm like, he's the great grandfather, because that was when that character turned from being all jokes to somebody with more gravitas. So I realized, he's got a story. And I bet you anything, it's that he's actually the one that's related to Miguel. So yeah, that's a lovely scene.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just move on to what to Potter's observation. Potter, good friend of the show. I wonder why some cultures have a cult of the dead. I know Irish culture has one too, whereas many cultures don't embrace death in the same way.
Yeah.
Of course, like American culture does not look at death the same way. It's usually seen as very sad, very somber, like um, and you bury them, and maybe once a year you go put flowers on their grave. Like it's kind of like it's a very personal thing that you deal with, and maybe that's the difference is the focus on sort of the family structure and the connection to your ancestors.
I, can I just interject? I actually think part of that is that, and I don't know how much of this extends like beyond American culture, but I feel like it seems like a very American thing where we don't talk about the stuff that we're afraid of. We tend to bury it down and
Bury it.
And just sort of go on with our lives. So I feel like there's an element of that.
Well, it's not all American cultures. It's some American cultures.
That's true.
We're made up of very diverse regional type thing. And it's not that in the South, especially certain pockets of the South, we are very close with our dead. We, like Memorial Day, some of the family traditions that we would have is we would go to the cemetery where all of our family is buried at the church that they all attended, and would like clean the area, make sure that everything looks really nice. We'll go around and look at all the different, all the different names on the tombstones, and some of them are like really, really old, where the name is almost gone. But we've been doing this, like my mother would take me around and her mother would take her, and we would remember, like, even though the names have faded, we know kind of who that's supposed to be in relationship to the rest of us. So some areas of the United States were very, very close. We're very close to our dead, I guess. We have more, maybe a sense of family history that we tell all these like old anecdotes about, remember when Great Aunt Sally rode the unicycle into the church, or, we had that picnic and, whoever got dunked, all these old, these stories that just keep coming over and over, and they just get told over and over again whenever the families get together. It's that's kind of a tradition that we have in other places. I think like in New Orleans, which is a very different culture, even in the South.
Oh yeah.
Live among the dead. The dead are there.
Well, I would say, I'm sorry, Cecilia, let me just get my interjection in, and would love to hear what you have to say. So I live in a small townhouse community next to a cemetery. Buried in that cemetery are a lot of Mexican Americans. You can just tell by the names walking by. If any day of the week, but especially Sunday, if you go by there in the afternoon, there might be families out there having a picnic. But it's always the Hispanic families, which is, it just shows you the difference in the way that they are sort of grieving or remembering or even or engaging with their ancestry. It's just a very different thing to me. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, what is going on here? You're going out to grandma and grandpa's grave site for a picnic. But then, as you see it week after week after week after week, you start to, okay, I can kind of understand it. Is that a common thing across Mexico?
Not really, but some people do. Some people do. The thing with the Day of the Dead, El Día de los Muertos, is that that's a very the whole Mexico celebrates it, but it's stronger in south and center of Mexico.
Oh, I don't mean. I mean, you can go on any day. Any day of the year, any day of the week, there will be family out there lawn chairs and yard umbrella having a picnic with their ancestors, so to speak.
Yeah, well, it's a way that it's like the way to bring them back. Uh, well, what you were saying about some cultures having like this cult of death, or I think it has to do with the suffering of that people. Uh, I mean, if 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 a society had a traumatic past, uh, I think it's I think it's only natural to go back and embrace death in a different way. Um, for example, we had the conquer. It was very violent. It was very traumatic for our people, to the point that we still are suffering from that. We can't get over it. I wish we could, but we can't get over it, especially in center and south of Mexico. And this is because uh, because of the weather. Well, here in the north is a desert, and there were there weren't many indigenous people here, as they were in the south. Well, it was only logical that the most of the tragedy and the most of the struggles were happened there, and it is only natural as well that this particular tradition, is stronger there than it is here in the north. Here in the north, it's also celebrated, but it's celebrated in a sense of let's not forget about this part of our culture. We can celebrate Halloween, but this is our culture. Halloween is something that from elsewhere, and that is more or less the feeling here in the north, where as in the south and center, it's something more deep and meaningful.
Right. It's a Mexican thing, but it is also like regionally more or less important, just depending on where you are. And Potter agrees, and I do too. I think your observation about that sort of troubled past for a culture probably does feed that. That's a really astute observation. It's good stuff. We should have you back sometime.
Yeah, sure.
I always like having smart people on because then I just nod and say, "Oh, that's right," and then I look smart too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks, John.
And well, it makes also sense for the Irish to be in touch with this. I mean,
there's a high.
Yeah, it does. And anyway, I digress off of that point. We can look at world cultures through this lens, and I bet we would find a lot of similarities. Like, if you are an oppressed people group, your relationship with death is probably different than if you are the oppressor.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 So everybody's like, bring her back. Hey, man, like, I know you have children too. So, but yes, would be delighted to have you back anytime. Sure. Anytime you're coming. If you haven't watched The Expanse, watch The Expanse, because that's a good reason to have you back too. Have you seen that, The Expanse?
No, I haven't. I haven't had the time, but it's definitely on my list.
Yes. Right. Okay. Well, thank you, Ana. Muchas gracias.
Oh, that's it. You let her off easy, guys. I'm shocked.
Yeah, well, first-time visitor, we're going to be nice.
Don't want to scare her off yet.
Right.
No, but I think we made it pretty clear the offer is open to come on.
Yes, absolutely.
Rap about whatever, man. Glad to have you.
And what you see is what you get. We just try to have fun. Try to keep mostly on topic, but wander here, wander there, and just stream of consciousness. Shut up, John. Nobody wants to hear your crap. Maybe take occasional shots at each other like that, but all in good fun. So we're about 15 or 20 minutes from the end. Chat, bring up anything you need. Panelists, final thoughts, anything you want to make sure that we talk about before we get to the end?
Just that this was a very, I was about to say it's a pleasant surprise, but it's, Disney and Pixar. It shouldn't have been a surprise that I enjoyed the heck out of it. But I mean, just as you said before, Stephen, it feels like they really knocked it out of the park with this one, because it works on every level. It's very emotional. I was smiling ear to ear watching this throughout. So yeah, just aside from the great conversation, thanks for choosing to do this one, because I'm glad I finally got to see the movie.
Well, we get to thank Anna for
Thank you, Anna.
Yeah, thank you, Anna.
Thank you. I had a blast. Yeah, so I'm probably a little bit older than, I know I'm older than you, John, Cecilia. I'm probably a good bit older than you. Nessie, we're close. And the older you get, the more people you lose. And so
Yes.
this movie, the protagonist is a child, and it's really shown through his point of view. But the older you get, the more you think about, I'm gonna be Hector someday, or like the other people who are on that ofrenda who have already passed on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're like, I know more and more of those people personally, and I think it's always a good idea, no matter what language you speak or where you're from in the world, to take a moment and pause and just reflect on the people that you did know who passed, and try to remember them fondly for the good impact they had on your life. Which I think is what this movie, one of the big points of this movie, is that your family should be important to you, and that's displayed when Miguel finally agrees, I will go back and I will not play music. Like, it's the only thing in my life that makes me happy, but if this is what it takes to get back to my family, that's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But also, by the time we get to the end, go back to the land of the living with no conditions. Mama Imelda finally tells him, just go back where you belong, and you don't have to promise me anything.
Yeah.
So like that idea of family is more important. Miguel showed that, and then Imelda also kind of gave that back
Yeah.
in a different form.
I love that he got relationships with these people that he just seen in pictures. They're not just pictures on the wall anymore. This is just something we do, because I don't think in the film up until that point that Miguel had experienced any of the personal loss.
Mm-hmm.
Those people had passed before because he's a young kid, and those people had more than likely passed before he knew them. But he had been told these stories. But then to go and sort of meet them in person and to see how they are and develop personal relationships with them, I thought was really spot on.
And I found it really compelling and tender and emotional, this idea that and I think this is something that comes most especially from the culture, it is this idea that he gets there and all of those family members know very well who he is.
Oh yeah.
And
well, they've been visiting every
exactly. And that's just like, as soon as that was evident, that's what I'm talking about. Like, every step of this film was so emotionally engaging, just touches like that. It just tugs at your heartstrings, even at a moment that's not about tugging at your heartstrings. So, yeah, it's just, I love it.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I do want to get, Potter's got an excellent question. He says he asked this before, but Cecilia, if there were 3 Mexican films that you think everybody must see, what would they be?
Okay. One of
Only
them.
three.
Only three. Oh man, that's gonna be tough. But one of them, it's recent, is the one that got the Oscar last year, Roma, which is it's from Alfonso Cuarón, and it's a great reflection of classism in Mexico.
Okay.
We follow the story. We follow the story of a maid from indigenous origins, and you can see how how she becomes part of the family, but not really part of the family. You know, which is usually white people. I mean, here in the north is very different because, well, but in the south, center and south, it is almost like a law of nature that the whiter you are, the richer you are. But well, here in Mexico and many places here in Latin America. But well, that's a good movie to see if we want to think about that. And oh man, another great movie from the hero that I spoke before, Pedro Infante. If you watch Los Ricos, no, ¿cómo se? I don't remember the exact name. Let me just Google it. No, it's a movie from, I mean, the 1940s or something. From Pedro Infante. It's a story about a poor family. It's a story about a poor family and their tragedies. I can remember the name, but it's from Pedro Infante. It's Nosotros los Pobres. It's us, the poor. It's like the tragedies of the poor family in Mexico, and that's a classic one. And there is also another one, but I don't. The thing is that I don't exactly remember the names, but I do remember the actors, and it's another movie. Basically, it's a movie from the actress is her name is. Oh my God, I just forgot everything. I'm sorry. I just forgot about everything. But maybe I'll talk about them later. But yeah, those two are definitely a must sees. And I should probably add one more by comedians, Mexican comedians from the past. There is one that is very famous, Cantinflas. He's like our Mexican Chaplin.
Okay.
It's like our Mexican Chaplin. Basically, any movie by him, it's good to see. And you can see how the culture has evolved. But yeah, it's good comedy.
Cool. Well, thank you for answering that. Peadar also thanks you.
Thank you.
Yep. He's from the other side of the ocean. So, to me, Mexican culture was always, I mean, I've always been adjacent to it here, but it was really nice to sort of like dig into some of the deeper ideas and thoughts going on here. Every culture has its way it views death, family, ambition. Okay, actually, there is one more thing I wanted to make sure that I mentioned before we got to the end, and I'm glad I remembered. Pixar and Disney, one of my big complaints that I ever have had with them is that sometimes they have like you follow your heart, do what you want, seize your moment type of idea at the heart of it. Ariel disobeys her father and leaves home. Nemo disobeys obeys his father and gets captured. We see this in a lot of the films that Disney and Pixar put out. In this one, the theme isn't follow your dream and you'll be happy. The theme is your family is more important than that. And that is not something we see in this type of storytelling very often.
Yeah.
Listen to your mother, that type of thing,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now that you mentioned this, you're quite right, and I think it's also another reflection of Mexican culture. Sometimes you have to, well, in an adverse society, in an adverse environment, you often need to sacrifice your dreams or what you want to do in your life in order to attend this. I don't know if I should call it emergency state, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do instead of doing what you want to do.
Yeah, that resonates for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wasn't that the sign on De La Cruz's statue was "Seize your moment" or something like that? And then at the end, his statue was like all abandoned and overgrown and everything.
The inscription below it said "Remember me," but then somebody hung this sign that said "Forget you."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's good stuff right there, man.
And then we switch over to where Miguel has got his little baby sister, and he's telling the stories of all the people on the, all the pictures in the ofrendas, and here's your cousin and here's your uncles and your great, so he's passing on these stories to the next generation.
Yep, he's another link in the chain now. Someday he's going to be a picture up there.
Yeah.
Yep. So, okay, 5 minutes from the end, folks. Last chance for anything.
I feel the pressure.
If you can't think of anything, I'm going to judge you. So.
Yeah, Cecilia.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing some comments about Christian values here in the chat, and well, you can find good people and bad people everywhere.
Yeah, that is true.
I've met horrible atheists and horrible Christians equally, and
I
also
agree.
And also beautiful atheists and beautiful Christians everywhere. I grew up Catholic. I don't really follow the religion anymore, but my parents do. And my parents, actually, my dad is a deacon, which is kind of like a priest, but in a lower level. And, well, I've met a lot of beautiful Catholics in my life, as I've met horrible Catholics in my life. So I can tell you that. It's not a matter of religion. It's a matter of your own personal values as a person. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. I think me and Steven hit it at the same time.
Yeah, we keep doing it. We keep doing it, which is why we're both
but yeah, Swantavia hit it. Swantavia hit it right on the nail, right on the head there. Be about any family, anywhere, because of those core family values.
Mm-hmm.
With the statue or the monument there at the end, and it is, as you pointed out, it said that, at the beginning it was remember me, and now and then it was forget you. A lot of things you see is you're only as good as the last deed you did.
Mm-hmm.
There is that, but there's also he's not going to be forgotten though.
No, he was a famous person. His legacy will continue despite of his morality.
Right.
And perhaps because of what he actually did as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Now instead of being famous, he's infamous.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he will not be forgotten.
He won't be forgotten.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure.
but I don't think you'll be getting as much swag every year.
Yeah, no doubt. He's not going to get a mountain of guitars and
Yeah. He's gonna have to.
a room full of shrimp cocktail.
Wow, that sucks.
All right. Well, y'all, I think that's about it. We covered pretty much every aspect of this movie in one way or another. If we left out something, I hope hope it wasn't too painful for you. And if you want to leave a comment after the fact down in the comment section, I'll try to address it. I don't know. I don't know what we didn't touch on, but if we did, call me out. I'm not afraid of you. And so that being said, I would like to say, Cecilia, thank you so much for joining us. You made this stream 10 times better than it would have been without you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely
It was
fantastic.
an absolute pleasure. I would be glad to come back anytime.
Good, because it's
yeah.
going to happen in the not too distant future.
Okay, I'll
John,
be ready.
John, Nessie, you guys are great as always, of course. Chatters, those of you who are here live, this is a format that I love very much, and it's you guys in the chat kind of engaging in the conversation that makes it really what it is. So thanks for being here live. If you're watching afterwards, thanks too, I guess. I'm kidding. Of course, anybody who's watching ever, we appreciate you. Come back next Sunday. It will be me and John. I think Nessie has to work, but we'll have Jolie from All Hail the Night's Queen on to talk about the film
Attack the Block.
Attack the Block.
Which I have not seen yet, but everybody who's seen it says it's great. You need to see it. So apparently it's great, and I'll go watch it sometime this week, and then we'll talk about it next Sunday. John?
My dad's watched it.
Okay. John, real quick, what's coming up for you?
Okay, guys, tune into John Webster Film next Saturday at 7 p.m. Amy Blackfire and I will be covering the films of Quentin Tarantino. So that'll be a lot of fun. Tune in for that. And then later this month, be sure you come by for my interview with author Doug Adams about his book, The Music of the Lord of the Rings Films.
Right.
Okay.
Cool. Nessie, got something coming up soon?
Yep, November 18th, I've got a friend of the channel, Aaron M., who's going to come on, and we're going to discuss some more Arthurian legend and focusing on the Lady of the Lake and all of that watery tart loveliness.
Yes.
Right. Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And last, but certainly not least, Cecilia, what's coming up for Geeksterilia?
Okay, up next we're going to talk about The Mandalorian, of course, and maybe we're going to get a recap first for the first season, since the episodes are not going to come out all together, but like weekly, and and Mandalorian, and plus I want to talk about this particular movie, but I haven't found the guest, so I will probably do it alone. It's a French animation film called I just forgot. Sorry, I'm very forgetful. I am very forgetful, but it's a story about humans in another planet. Oh, planet of the, I don't remember the name exactly, but yeah,
Is it Fantastic Planet?
Humans are like some sort of pets of this alien race.
Fantastic Planet, I think.
Fantastic Planet, that one. Yes, indeed. I've watched
Someone
it.
knows what it is.
Not surprised that John knew that.
I watched it like a zillion times, and I just forgot the name. I'm sorry about that. I'm really forgetful.
We'll
But
forgive
yeah,
you.
especially with names. I'm not particularly good with names, movie names, and that sort of stuff. But yes, that is a very interesting film. So I will probably talk about it alone, but yeah, or maybe that could be one of the English episodes.
Look at John grinning over here. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I was like, hold me back, dude.
Good.
Hold me back.
Follow each
That
other
would be
on
great.
Twitter.
That would be great.
Check
Yeah.
it out. I can't wait to see this crossover. All right.
Oh, look at John grinning like an idiot.
Yeah.
Hey, don't
And
Lots of
and
great-
of course, I would love to talk about The Crown, because
Okay.
this particular season is going to be very interesting with the whole thing with the Iron Lady and Lady D. So yeah.
John.
Peadar, I don't know what you're talking about. I buy Blu-rays. You know that.
All right. Okay. So y'all, yeah, lots of great new content coming up in the future. I look forward to seeing you guys all back here next week. If you are an American, go vote. It's important that you make your voice heard. This is an important election. I'm not going to talk about my personal politics, but whatever my personal politics are, even if they are completely different from yours, you deserve to have your vote counted and heard. So please go vote, do your civic duty, and join us next week for Attack the Block. And until then, you know what it is. Peace and be excellent to